Watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Tanvi Taneja. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. Prime Minister Narendra Modi attends the NXT Conclave in New Delhi, highlights India's rising stature at the world stage, says India is a country where positive news is being created every day. US President Donald Trump and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskiy clash in an extraordinary exchange before the media at the White House over the conflict in Ukraine. Zelenskiy returns, leaving the meeting midway. United States announces approval of sale of more than $3 billion in munitions, bulldozers and related equipment to Israel. And South Africa set to face England in the final Group B clash of the ICC Champions Trophy. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurated the NXT Conclave 2025 at Bharat Mandapam in New Delhi today, calling India an emerging global export hub. Prime Minister Modi said that India is becoming the new factory of the world. The conclave aims to bring together world leaders, policymakers and experts from diverse industries. Designed as a hub for intellectual discourse and groundbreaking initiatives, NXT 2025 aspires to drive global progress by promoting meaningful dialogue and actionable solutions.
आज भारत न्यू फैक्ट्री ऑफ द वर्ल्ड बन रहा है। हम सिर्फ वर्कफोर्स नहीं, वर्ल्ड फोर्स बन रहे हैं। कभी हम जिन चीजों का इंपोर्ट करते थे, आज देश उनका इमर्जिंग एक्सपोर्ट हब बन रहा है। जो किसान कभी लोकल मार्केट तक ही सीमित था, आज उसकी फसल पूरी दुनिया के बाजारों तक पहुंच रही है। हमारे डिफेंस प्रोडक्ट्स दुनिया को भारतीय इंजीनियरिंग और टेक्नोलॉजी की ताकत दिखा रहे हैं।
On to Washington, D.C. now. A tense and highly public Oval Office showdown between U.S. President Donald Trump and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskiy has sent shockwaves through international politics. What was meant to be a high-stakes diplomatic meeting quickly turned into an explosive confrontation, leaving U.S.-Ukraine ties at crossroads. Here's how it unfolded.
A high-stakes diplomatic meeting turned into a political spectacle as Donald Trump and Volodymyr Zelenskiy clashed in a fiery Oval Office showdown.
You're gambling with the lives of millions of people. You're gambling with World War III. You're gambling with World War III. And what you're doing is very disrespectful to the country, this country, that's backed you far more than a lot of people said they should have.
The meeting, originally intended to coordinate a peace plan, quickly descended into chaos as Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance accused Zelensky of not being thankful and rejecting their truce proposal with Russia.
You have to be thankful. You don't have the cards. You're buried there. Your people are dying. You're running low on soldiers. Listen, you're running low on soldiers. It would be a damn good thing. And then you tell us, I don't want a ceasefire. I don't want a ceasefire.
In this entire meeting that you said thank you, you went to Pennsylvania and campaigned for the opposition in October. Offer some words of appreciation for the United States of America and the president who's trying to save your country.
In a heated exchange broadcast globally, Trump and Vance clashed with Zelensky, pushing him to accept a peace deal that required Ukraine to make compromises. Zelensky, however, pushed back, arguing that past peace efforts had failed to stop Russian aggression.
He occupied our parts, big parts of Ukraine, part of East and Crimea. So he occupied it on 2014. So during a lot of years, I'm not speaking about just Biden, but those time was Obama, then President Obama, then President Trump, then President Biden, now President Trump, and God bless, now President Trump will stop him. But during 2014, nobody stopped him.
At one point, Vance interrupted Zelensky, calling him disrespectful, escalating tensions even further. The Ukrainian leader left shortly after the exchange, refusing to apologize for the chaotic meeting.
I'm talking about the kind of diplomacy that's going to end the destruction of your country.
Yes, but if you
Mr. President, with respect, I think it's disrespectful for you to come into the Oval Office and try to litigate this in front of the American media.
Later in an interview, Zelensky said that without US support, Ukraine would struggle to hold off Russian forces, underscoring the stakes of the conflict.
It will be difficult for us. That's why I'm here. That's why we speak about the future negotiations. It will be difficult without your support, but we can't lose.
Trump, however, doubled down on his criticism, saying Zelensky did not look like a man who wanted peace.
From his standpoint, I think he very much overplayed his hand. We're looking for peace. I saw it today. This is a man that wants to get us signed up and keep fighting, and we're not doing that. Not for this country.
With US-Ukraine tensions at an all-time high, the Oval Office clash has raised serious questions about America's future role in the conflict and whether Ukraine can continue its fight without full US backing. With Nupur Sharma, Fuzail Ahmed's report for DD India.
Well, the meeting between Trump and Zelensky was nothing short of dramatic, and AI is contributing a lot to this spat on social media. Still, European leaders, including EU Chief Ursula von der Leyen, German Chancellor and UK Prime Minister, are rallying behind the Ukrainian president. DD India's Aarti Rana has more.
We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because you're in no position.
Explosive meeting between US President Donald Trump, Vice President J.D. Vance and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky continues to reverberate across the Atlantic.
We're not in a good position. You don't have the cards right now.
But European nations have strongly reiterated their support for Ukraine, causing a deepening of transatlantic rift. The leaders of France, Germany and the European Union emphasize that Ukraine's fight is not just about its sovereignty, but about defending European security. EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen voiced her unwavering support for Ukraine. EU President Kaja Kallas went a step further, declaring Ukraine is Europe and stating that free world needs a new leader, signaling frustration with Trump's stance. French President Emmanuel Macron called Russia the aggressor while claimed Ukraine a victim. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz emphasized his commitment to Ukraine while stating that Ukraine can rely on Germany and on Europe. Germany's new conservative leader, incoming Chancellor Friedrich Merz, who has said he seeks independence from the US. Similar support came from Sweden, Lithuania, France and the Czech Republic, all highlighting Ukraine's role in defending not just its own sovereignty, but also Europe's security. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer, who met with Trump recently, has yet to issue a statement, although the leader of UK's Conservative Party, Kemi Badenoch, expressed support for Ukraine. Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese saying Canberra would continue to stand with Ukraine, though countries like Turkey and Italy have remained silent in the aftermath.
The people of Ukraine have suffered greatly in defence of their nation and their national sovereignty. And Russia has acted like a bully, a big country seeking to invade and to take over territory from another sovereign nation, in this case Ukraine. And like the rest of overwhelmingly countries around the world, we have stood with Ukraine and we will continue to do so.
In contrast, Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban, a known ally of Trump, supported the former president's stance, adding fuel to the transatlantic rift. On the Russian side, former President Dmitry Medvedev did not hold back, mocking Zelensky and praising Trump's remarks, while claiming that American president was right to call the conflict a dangerous gamble. European leaders largely avoided mentioning Trump or Vance, focusing instead on reaffirming their support for Ukraine as its conflict with Russia enters year 4. The geopolitical divide is clear. The world watches closely as US and Europe continue to clash on how best to handle the crisis. Will this diplomatic rift have a lasting impact on global alliances? Only time can tell. Bureau Report, DD India.
UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres said that the Israel-Hamas hostage deal and ceasefire must hold as talks on a second phase of the agreement resume in Cairo.
The ceasefire and hostage release deal must hold. The coming days are critical. The parties must spare no effort to avoid a breakdown of this deal. I urge them to uphold their commitments and implement all of them in full. All hostages must be released immediately and conditionally in a dignified manner. The parties must ensure humane treatment for all those held under their power, and all transfers must be carried out in a dignified way and as per the terms of the deal.
The United States on Friday announced the approval of the sale of more than $3 billion in munitions, bulldozers and related equipment to Israel. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio signed off on the sales of $2.04 billion in bomb bodies and warheads, another $675.7 million in other bomb bodies and guidance kits, and $295 million in bulldozers and related equipment. The U.S. Defense Security Cooperation Agency, DSCA, said that the United States is committed to the security of Israel and it is vital to U.S. national interests to assist Israel to develop and maintain a strong and ready self-defense capability. The latest weapons transactions come after Washington approved the sales of more than $7.4 billion in bombs, missiles and related equipment to Israel earlier this month. The first exploratory talks between Social Democrats and CDU took place in Hamburg on Friday, 5 days after the German snap elections. In Sunday's elections, the Conservative Party won and the Social Democrats fell to a historic low in the votes, came in third after the far-right Alternative for Germany. The head of the conservative CDU and likely future German Chancellor, Friedrich Merz, described the atmosphere as extremely good and constructive during the meeting. The two parties will meet for more talks next week after the state elections in the city-state Hamburg, where the Social Democrats are currently leading in polls. Nearly 2,000 people gathered outside the Greek parliament to mark the second anniversary of the country's deadliest rail disaster, which killed 57 people. The crowd gathered to demand justice for the victims of the crash between a freight train and a passenger train. The protest turned violent when hooded attackers threw firebombs and rockets at police, prompting a response with tear gas and stun grenades. At least 30 people were hospitalized. You're watching DD India Live. Still to come on the show. South Sudan to replace army contingent in Upper Nile after clashes in two regions. World-renowned experts enjoy a historic hydrogen bus ride from the iconic Taj to Bharat Mandapam in New Delhi. U.S. Social Security Administration has announced plans to cut 7,000 workers. Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Tanvi Taneja. A recent United Nations report has highlighted that South Sudan's leaders are exacerbating violence and instability in the country. The report reveals that political and military elites are driving the ongoing violence, which is compounded by frequent clashes and political infighting. It condemns South Sudan's leaders for failing their people, highlighting serious human rights violations. The report highlighted that despite South Sudan's government earning $3.5 billion between 2022 and 2024, there has been little progress in rebuilding vital infrastructure and civil servants remain unpaid. Corruption continues to obstruct development, and despite the 2018 peace agreement ending the civil war, no significant improvements have been made. South Sudan's Minister of Information, Michael Makuwe Liuth, announced the replacement of the army contingent in Upper Nile following the clashes.
In Upper Nile and specifically in Nasser area. طبعا الجيش بتاع ناصر ده they have stayed for long. And there had been a demand from the people of Nasser that these people should be replaced.
British Finance Minister Rachel Reeves hosts a roundtable with the defence sector in Lincolnshire after Prime Minister Keir Starmer pledged to raise UK's defence spending but ordered the overseas development budget to be cut from 0.5% to 0.3% of the gross national income to pay for it. Reeves reiterated, adding the aid cut is the right decision in the circumstances they face today as a nation.
The decision to spend 2.5% of GDP on defence is the right decision. The world has changed. We can see that all around us, in Europe and beyond. We have to uplift what we spend on defence, and we have funded that by reducing the international aid budget.
Back to the US. The US Social Security Administration has announced plans to cut 7,000 workers, reducing its workforce by over 12%. This move is part of the Trump administration's efforts to downsize the federal workforce. The SSA, which provides benefits to 73 million retired and disabled Americans, aims to reduce its staff from 57,000 to 50,000. The agency claims that the cuts will focus on non-essential functions and employees. Additionally, the SSA plans to close many of its regional offices from 10 to 4, which may further limit access to services. Hundreds of Serbian students arrived in the southern city of Nice after marching over 100 kilometers ahead of a massive anti-corruption protest set to begin on Saturday. Locals welcomed the protesters with flags, fireworks and flowers as the student-led demonstrations continue to shake Serbia. The protests, which erupted after a deadly train station roof collapse in Novi Sad, killed 15 people in November last year. This fueled growing public anger over government accountability. India's Home Minister Amit Shah held a high-level meeting on Saturday to review the security of Manipur at the North Block in New Delhi. This is the first security review meeting that Shah held on Manipur after former Chief Minister N. Biren Singh's resignation on February 11th. Following this, the centre had imposed President's rule in the state, with the responsibility of state administration and law and order falling in the hands of Governor Bhalla. Since then, Bhalla has embarked upon a comprehensive overhaul of the security approach in the state. World-renowned experts are enjoying a groundbreaking hydrogen bus ride from the iconic Taj to Bharat Mandapam, showcasing India's commitment to clean energy and sustainable mobility. Among the distinguished guests on board are physicist Brian Greene, MIT professor Jonathan Fleming, Dr. Christian Gasparic from the mobility world, and venture capitalist Namit Choksi, leaders in their respective fields, discussing the vast window of opportunities India has in the hydrogen economy and clean energy revolution. The hydrogen bus ride reflects Prime Minister Modi's vision of a green and self-reliant India. This ride is not just a journey across the city, but a glimpse into the future of green transportation and innovation.
What you need to be a world leader is you need the people who are trained, who are creative, who are enthusiastic, who are energetic. And that's what you have in droves in this country. And so there's a huge opportunity for India to be a leader in this technology.
I think this is going to be significantly cheaper than your regular fuel. And so just in terms of cost parity, I think it'll make a lot more sense. So I think, yeah, to wrap up, I think two things, right? Sustainability, but also like cost parity and financial perspective, it makes a lot more sense.
There is a clear winner yet. I mean, there has been test operation for hydrogen. The Middle East is actually betting on hydrogen quite a bit. I would say none has really figured it out fully. Maybe India could be the first.
India has all of the ingredients, starting with the leadership at the top, in order to become this global hub. Because the home market here is bigger than any other home market in the world. So if you're number one in the number one market, you have a really good chance at being the global leader.
Renowned physicist Brian Greene visits India and is experiencing the future of clean mobility with a hydrogen bus ride. Joined by global experts, he explores the immense opportunities India holds in the hydrogen economy. Aligned with Prime Minister Modi's vision, this journey symbolizes India's push towards sustainability, innovation and green energy leadership on the world stage.
Well, there is a lot of talk about green hydrogen and how green hydrogen can change the dynamics of the game when it comes to other countries. I've got with me physicist Dr. Brian Greene to help us understand. Dr. Brian, how do you look at the future of transportation?
Well, look, we have to be able to transport ever larger number of citizens around ever larger cities. We've got to find a renewable energy source that allows us to do that cleanly, and hydrogen is a wonderful possibility. So I'm thrilled to see it being put into practice here in Delhi, and so far this bus ride has been wonderful, so it certainly is working.
Dr. Brian, India has got a national hydrogen mission that's into play that the Prime Minister has rolled. Do you see India having a potential to be the hub when it comes to hydrogen production?
Yeah, look, this country has as its greatest resource its people. You've got energetic, creative, smart, well-trained young scientists, and that's the way you can push technology forward. So is there a possibility for India to be the world leader in this technology? Absolutely.
So you've been a physicist. If there is one law of physics that you could change to bring hydrogen to the forefront, what would you do?
Well, look, if you're going to give me the option of changing the laws of physics, I'll change the conservation law of energy so we could perhaps create energy out of nothing. That would be the one I would change. But barring that, look, hydrogen as a fuel source is a real promising possibility. You have to be able to do that cleanly. You've got to be able to get that fuel source in a green way. And that's really the cutting edge. That's a challenge, and it's great to see work heading in that direction.
Okay. One final word, sir. When you look at hydrogen as the next alternative and no country being able to take the lead when it comes to be the leader, do you see the potential, a country like India, which has got large transportation network, to be able to capitalize on it and become the leader?
Yeah, look, you've got a great motivation to put this hydrogen fuel source into practice in the transportation realm. You've got large populations that got to move around your cities, and to be able to do that cleanly with hydrogen fuel is a great motivation, and clearly it's been pushing you forward, and it's a real possibility that you will be the world leader in putting this hydrogen fuel source to work.
Well, that's exactly the point. Putting hydrogen into practice is something that's a challenge, and I think India has taken the challenge and moving forward. This is Anil Thomas for DD India from New Delhi.
The International Monetary Fund, IMF, has completed the third review of Sri Lanka's 48-month extended fund facility, enabling an immediate disbursement of approximately $334 million. This brings the total IMF financial support for Sri Lanka to about $1.34 billion since the program's approval in March 2023. While approving the third review, IMF commended Sri Lanka's strong performance under the program, noting that all quantitative targets for December 2024 were met, except for the indicative target on social spending. The IMF has also highlighted the necessity of finalizing bilateral agreements with creditors to advance debt restructuring efforts. The bilateral debt restructuring was coordinated by official creditor committee last year, led by India, Japan and France, and the restructuring. On to some sporting news now. South Africa is set to face England in the final Group B clash of the Champions Trophy on Saturday. Afghanistan are still in the race for the Final Four. However, South Africa hold the advantage with a game in hand and a higher net run rate. A win against England will be enough for South Africa to qualify for the semi-finals. On the other hand, England, who have been eliminated from the tournament, are looking to secure their first win. England arrive into their final group stage fixture on the back of skipper Jos Buttler having stepped down as the white ball cricket captain. And that's all for this edition of DD India Live. Do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. Connect with us on our different social media handles at DD India Live. And you can also download our DD India mobile app for quick news and updates on the go. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Tanvi Taneja. From all of us here in New Delhi, thank you for watching. Namaskar.